Jason, thanks so much for hopping on the Next Level Minds podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you mentioned earlier before we started recording, you're in Georgia. I'm in South Carolina. Always like speaking with people from the Southeast, just because it's pretty similar down here, and a little jealous you're by the coast. I wish I was saying the same thing right now, but
I tell you what, man, like 2 or 3 days ago, we had an all day beautiful, sweet coastal breeze. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about right there. So I love me some Southeast.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, how's the man? I know we're at August 1st when we're recording, so summer been all right for you?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's funny. I talk to people from back home in Indiana, and they're always like, "Man, I bet you're roasting down there." And it's like, it's warm, but we got a breeze, we got a pool, and I see the sun almost every single day of the year. So life's good, brother. It's funny. I used to celebrate August 1st every year. I thought about this today. I used to be like, "Man, thank God July's over with. I hate July, but I don't hate July. I don't dislike July down here because it's not just." Humid and still and muggy like I'm used to. There's actually some airflow and there's always something to do. So summer's been good, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know just reading your bio a little bit and prepping for this, obviously speaker, author, entrepreneur, real estate investor, podcast host. You got your hand in a lot of different things and obviously trying to run your business on top of all those exciting things. But before we jump into all of that, I'd love to know a little bit about, your background. I know you just kind of referenced the Midwest there. So maybe start around like 18, 19 years old. Would love to kind of hear what that was like for you before you jumped into corporate and then obviously launched your own company.
Yep. So I got to back up just a bit further.
Yeah.
So when I was 14. My passion at the time was bass fishing. And every year Bass Pro Shops would come out with their new master catalog. And I'd be like, Mom, I gotta get these lures, I gotta get this new equipment. And at one point she's like, we're done. You don't need any more gear. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, I'm not paying for any more gear. I'm like, but you haven't seen these new bait casters. And she's like, I don't care. She said, if you want more gear, go figure out how to make money legally and ethically and buy your own stuff. Okay. So grabbed a lawnmower, started cutting 3 yards a week in my cul-de-sac, 25 bucks. So 75 bucks a week and spent all of it on fishing tackle. So I was buying more than I ever had before. And I got that taste of making my own money early. And fast forward, I graduated when I was 17 from high school. Started changing oil for $6 an hour just in that summer between high school and college. I was like, this is horrible. I hate this. Why am I doing this? So started another lawn care company in the neighborhood, and actually kept it up through college. So did it for about 7 years, and then went into corporate. But yeah, that's how I got my taste. I like making my own money, and I really don't like people telling me what to do. I'm not rude about it per se, but I just don't take it seriously. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So
Yeah. And
bit about me.
that's funny you mentioned that about going door to door cutting grass and all that because that was actually my kind of start as well. I think I was about 12 years old and my hobby at the time was surfing and skateboarding and it was basically the same thing. I'd be like, oh, I need a new board or need this, and parents would be like, you don't need any new stuff, like go get it. And I get asked like similar question of like, where did you get your work ethic and discipline and all that from? I'm like, honestly, like starting to work at an early age and $25 back then, you're like, I'm rich. This is awesome. Right. So, I mean,
Yep.
would you say that's kind of where you got a lot of your work ethic and all that from as well? Or,
Yeah, I mean, my parents worked hard, but they never, as a parent now, I think about this. I was talking to somebody this week about it. They never had to push me.
mm,
So as soon as I wanted more, instead of, just asking somebody to hand it to me, once I kind of realized I could go earn something and do it myself, I just took matters in my own hands. So they never had to encourage me to get a job or get another job or a third job if I needed. I just saw that and just did it anyway. So they had it easy from that standpoint. My son, who's 18 now, wired a little bit differently than his old man. So, all kids need something different. And for him, it's, a little bit more firm direction and a kick in the butt once in a while. But, I never needed that. So it's just something that's instilled in me from birth, I guess.
yeah, man, I think I've seen that a lot just in that generation. I do a lot of speaking engagements at colleges.
Yep.
So talking to a lot of like 18, 19, 20 year olds. And that's a big common theme, I think, is doesn't seem like they have kind of that like nitty gritty jump and go get it mentality. And sure, I meet some people that do, right? Maybe out of 100-person classroom, I have 2 or 3 come up to me and I'm doing this, this, this. But then other than that, it doesn't really seem as strong. I don't know if you kind of see that in some of your stuff too, but
Yeah, definitely see it the same way. And it's like for that age group, if they were raised by their grandparents, maybe,
yeah.
maybe they'll have that work ethic. But I'm the oldest group of millennial, depending on what chart you look at. 1981 is when I was born, and I remember the neighborhood I grew up in. It was probably low. It was probably middle class, lower middle class. Everybody worked, right? Nobody laid around. And so I was influenced by baby boomers and influenced by the silent generation. That silent generation, my grandma's still with us. She's 98 years old. Never heard that woman complain about anything in her life. And when you hear the stuff they went through, it's like, good God, we couldn't even, my generation couldn't even handle what they went through, let alone these guys and gals today. So it's just different times and everybody gets influenced differently. So with my kids, I got to remind them that the world doesn't owe you anything, right?
Mhm.
These young people have this idea that, oh, I'm owed something from the world. Who told you that? It's not how it works, unfortunately. So just getting them pointed in the right direction.
Yep, absolutely. So, if there's some like post grad college folks listen to this and they're kind of looking for some advice, would that
Yeah.
be something you'd mention as, world doesn't owe you anything, go out and get it type mentality?
Yeah, I mean, advice, and here's the way I think about it, man. What advice would I give myself at that age? And I'll say it right now on the show. And if somebody else benefits, it's a big win. But
Yep.
I was not a patient guy at that age, and I'm still not. But I've become more patient because a lot of times you don't have a choice,
Mhm.
right? So the world doesn't owe you anything. Talk less than you do. Instead of talking about all the stuff you need to just do it, and don't work hard to try to impress people. Just do it for yourself. And hard work can take you a long way in this life. And when nothing else seems like an option, working hard can create options for you. So there's no downside to doing it. It's rewarding. Physical work's rewarding. I love cutting the grass. I'm going to actually go cutting the grass today. It's instant gratification. And people are like, that's so weird. I'm like, I just really enjoy it still. So, yeah, that's some advice I'd give those people for sure.
Yeah, I love it. And I also think just like the mentality of how you do one thing is how you do everything, how you cut your grass and, how clean your car is. Like chances are if I see somebody who's got a yard that looks horrible, a dirty car, chances are that might be overweight, they might be broke. Like there's a correlation between highly successful people and just how all the other areas of their life are just buttoned up because they all kind of feed into each other, in my opinion.
That's interesting you say about the vehicle. So I have a truck. I have a phone charger, a gun, and a couple of magazines. That's it in my truck.
Right.
Otherwise, it's completely empty. Some jumper cables and stuff, but there's nothing in it ever. And my kids are like, "How do you keep the car so clean?" Every time I get out, I just throw the trash away. Right? It's just discipline is what it comes down to, and having high standards for stuff. So I do think it trickles in all areas of life for sure.
Yep. No, that's awesome. So okay, so let me ask you this. You started your company in 2015,
Hmm.
intentionally inspirational, which I really think that name is cool because I think it's like got a natural hook to it
Yeah.
for, new customers. And I'm sure there went a lot into that naming there. But you obviously were in corporate America before that. Were
Yep.
you in some similar type role where you were doing some marketing and stuff, or what was that like?
Nope. So I was in HR originally, and then sales and
Nice.
safety. And the common thread among those three is people. If you can communicate with people and you can sell ideas, it's really all the same. So that's what I did in corporate. Marketing was never the plan. Really, my big driver to quit corporate was had to quit twice. The first time I quit, ran out of money and I didn't have a plan, and had to go back within about 6 months. So it's not a pretty story. It's not like I did this stuff. It was a grind, and people doubted me and prayed and hoped I would fail, and all this terrible stuff that people lean into. But human nature. That's why people like reality TV. They like to see people struggle, and it makes them feel better about themselves. But what really pushed me the second time or sorry, the first time to quit, I was working for a family-owned company that was making about 300 million a year across 50 or 60 companies. And the head guy that started them all was like, he was an okay guy, but he wasn't like a great human being. Like he wasn't that nice of a person. And he did some stuff I didn't really like. And I was like, this joker can build that kind of empire. surely I can pay my bills from home and sleep in. That was the motivation. I don't want to get up early. I just want a little control over my time, and I'm sick of commuting. Like that's where it started. And I was like, I've got to be able to figure this out. Other people are doing this, so yeah, that's kind of where it began. But not an easy journey. First couple of years are pretty rough, but necessary.
Yeah. What were those first couple years? Because I'm doing some math. Like you said, you have a 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So I mean, what they were probably like 8 or 9
Yeah.
around
So
that time
we had,
frame.
yep, had a wife who didn't work, two kids, insurance and all that. And I, pretty much quit with 2 months of savings in the bank and had no plan. So we got into trouble pretty quick financially, made stupid decisions, like went and bought a luxury car with no job, no income. My son remembers the refrigerator getting so bare that he was used to the bright light that came out of it. And years later, when we actually were able to stock the fridge, he's like, "Why is the light so dim?" And it's like, "Oh, there's food there now. It's blocking it out." And we're never like on welfare or anything like
Yeah.
that. But times got tough. But I was selling guns and tools and doing landscaping jobs in my neighborhood, whatever I had to do to pay the bills every month. My record was I actually had 9 months of late mortgage payments in a row at my worst. So never hit the credit report, but never got the 30-day, but real close. So he remembers kind of the struggle and the climb. My daughter does not. She's 4.5 years younger. So all she knows is where things are now, which is a problem. Because when I try to remind her about the climb, she doesn't have any frame of reference to it. So I have to let her know that me working from home and me cleaning our pool every day, there's a price to everything. It could be time, could be money, could be health, combination of all those things, and you don't understand the cost. So
Yeah. Man, I have a lot of points that I want to unpack there. First off, obviously kudos to you for taking the risk because I mean, there's a lot that goes into that and look at the life you've been able to build, you're continuing to build all that great stuff. But when were getting those late mortgage payments and the fridge light, I'm kind of laughing at that coming through there. Um, how did you just kind of keep the mindset right, and not kind of just implode? Because I think that's hard to do, right, when things aren't going your way.
yeah. Well, it's a good question, and there is a reason why most people don't succeed in their own business, especially beyond 5 years. It's not because they're not passionate. It's not because they're not smart or skilled. They generally run out of time or money or both. The mentality that I had was, if I don't leave and start, if I don't leave corporate and start working for myself, I'm going to die. Like my soul is going to die, and I'm just going to wither up and die. Like I'm dead. I'm dead in corporate. I don't have a choice. It's literally the way I thought about it. And then once I kind of got us in that position, my wife's like, "You don't have a choice. You've got to be successful because you've put us in this bad situation." So you just get used to failing all the time, and you fail a whole bunch. And eventually, if you're in sales, you know this. If you do anything enough, email, phone call, meetings, you're going to get wins. It's just a numbers game at a point. So I just never had the mentality of, I'll try it, see what happens. I was like, I'll try until it works or I die trying. That was literally my honest mentality. And that's not normal. Not everybody's wired that way, but that's the way I'm wired. And once I kind of realized this isn't going to go away, I was like, I have no idea what the timeline is, but eventually my wife will either find me dead in my office or we'll be able to pay our bills. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and kinda having that mentality that, like, there's no other way, I have to make this work. And
yeah,
I think a lot can happen if you have the personality for it when you're backed into a corner
yeah,
and you're like, "Alright, I have to make this work," or there's
yeah,
literally no other option there.
yep,
Um, and then I think when it comes to the other thing that you mentioned, your daughter 4 years younger than your son, talking about there's a price to everything. So, how do you kind of balance those conversations? And I'm just kinda curious in general of, like, because she's kinda seen the good side of it and not the whole fridge side like your son. So, are you just constantly kinda trying to teach her about money, or what does that look
yeah.
like for you?
Yeah, we talk about money all the time, but me and my wife and both my kids, my parents to this day have never talked to me about money. Never ever. So, and that's not their fault. Our society doesn't teach financial literacy for a reason. They want to build worker bees, and if you go all the way back to turn of the century, the way that formal education was set up and why, there's a reason, right? For those big giants in entrepreneurship, Ford and Rockefeller and all those kind of guys to get workers and that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about money. My daughter is she's a good student, good athlete, and like with the volleyball, it's pretty intense, man. There's always stuff going on.
Hmm.
So sports is something I'm a big fan of. There's a lot of parallels with life and business there. So, now she's on a freshman team and wants to play varsity. And it's like, well, you have to earn it. The coach owes you nothing. So we can tie in those lessons and so into what makes sense in her world. And it's funny because each kid is different, same parents, different personalities for the kids, and they require different stuff. You can't parent one
Y-
way and it worked the same for all kids. It just doesn't that hadn't worked that way for us anyway.
Yep. Yeah, I like that approach of just, hey, you have to earn it, and kind of relating it to something that they're passionate about, like,
Yeah.
I think you mentioned volleyball or something in that case.
Yep.
Going back to your company, how did you end up thinking of this idea? Because you said you wore a couple hats before that. So I'm just kind of always curious, business owners, like, where did you think of this cool idea that's working?
Yeah, so it's never the plan. Originally, when I quit, there was these neighborhood magazines. The company doing it was Best Version Media. Maybe you've heard of it, and there was none in my area. So I locked onto an opportunity that I thought I could replace my income with. I got my wife on board, sold her this dream, and none of it happened. I made some
Mm,
sales, but I never generated a penny in commission. And so while we were kind of in that for those first few months, struggling, I woke up out of a dead sleep one night and I was like, intentionally inspirational. It's like, I don't know what that means, but I think it's going to change our life. And I started blogging as a way to stay sane while I was trying to do these neighborhood magazines. And I would encourage people to quit their 9 to 5. And I would say, I'm not a fraud, so I haven't quit mine yet successfully either, but this is how I'm going to do it. So, I had no audience or anything. I think my mom would read it or some friends out of curiosity, but I learned a little bit about marketing to try to get my message out there about the blog. And I thought I was going to be a motivational speaker. And I was like, I don't know how to make money with that. I have no audience. So none of
mm,
that existed or happened then. And Upwork was actually the site where I started seeing people looking for help with active campaign and Facebook ads and ClickFunnels and these
mm,
same tools that I was learning for myself. And I was like, God, they're willing to pay $500. Wow, I could really use that money. So I would apply for jobs. And if people would talk to me, I'd say, hey, I've never done Facebook ads, but I'm going to do it for a little bit less than you're asking. If you're okay with me figuring it out, I'll get it done, but it might take me a little bit longer. And people are okay with it. So I got a lot of kind of on the job training, built up a great 5-star reputation there. And then I started getting eventually, it took a while,
mm.
consistent jobs with marketing. And I was like, man, I never thought about this, but maybe I should lean into this marketing stuff. So that's kind of how it started. It was never the plan, but it's been an interesting ride.
Yeah, I like your approach of just doing Upwork and then charging a little bit less, because I feel like a lot of people sometimes they don't have the humility to charge less or quote unquote, work for free, as some people say. But
Yeah.
it's like you like you said, everything has a price. You got to start somewhere. You got to earn it.
Yeah.
And now you're probably in the position where you can charge a premium because you've learned it so well and you
Yeah.
can execute so well that it's worth the price that you're charging. So,
Yeah, if people would start a new business and find 3 clients that they could work for, not it didn't have to be free, but greatly discounted in exchange for a great 2-minute video testimonial. 3 video testimonials can really help your business get going. So video testimonials are super powerful, and it's worth trading your time and your effort for something like that, especially when you're new.
yeah, I was gonna say that it's funny that you bring that up because I was going to bring that up as actually the next question. When I was looking at y'all's website, like, you have some awesome video testimonials. Um, so has that been a big part of your business that kind of helped it grow by having that, or?
Yeah, and a lot of the clients, especially those videos, are in the real estate investor space. So it's one niche that we work with, but it's been a very significant niche for us over the last couple of years. When I was getting known in that industry, those reviews helped me get more clients, helped me get speaking engagements in front of 500, 600 people in front of an audience of all dream clients for me. So it really helps get our name out there. And yeah, it's nice. And once you get to a point you get enough name and brand recognition that people come to you and referrals and repeat business. It's great. So definitely was part of our strategy to get known in that industry.
Yeah. And so is that why you decided on that niche and just kind of ran with it on that real estate
Yeah,
investor world?
yeah, I created an offer. It was an active campaign for the CRM, the marketing automation. We had no competition back then. We have a lot more now, which is fine. We still do a good job with our training and our lifetime support. So there's, other things, doing what you say you're going to do still matter in
Yep.
this world. Under promising and overing deliver still matter. And a lot of people won't do it. So, yeah, we've ran with it because it's worked really well. But, now we're in a season of saying if a guy's got a big roofing company and needs help nurturing leads, we're not going to turn him away because he's not in real estate investing. That's crazy. We have value where we can help him as well. So we're kind of returning to where we used to be with a whole bunch more experience and a whole bunch more success. So.
Yeah. Um, is that what you usually suggest to people getting off the ground is like pick one niche first, starting with that, or like what's your approach there?
Yeah, it's a very, very tough question. So I would say no. Getting started, work with anybody that will work with you because you're not going to know the niche
Hmm.
that really works for you until you experience it. I would have never guessed real estate investors. If I would have never picked it, I would have never thought of that niche. So I saw an opportunity nobody was paying attention to. So start broad. You may think you want to work with one niche and work with some of those clients and be like, I hate this niche. This
Yeah.
sucks. So the niche journey, the niche process is definitely a journey. So start wide and narrow it down as it makes sense. There is a downside to going too narrow.
Hmm.
The downside, and we experienced this a bit this year, if you go too narrow and you get started with no competition, and then you get a bunch of competition in that niche, and somebody finds a way to pull a lot of business away from you, it can also be to your detriment. So it's a double-edged sword for sure. But yeah, start wide for sure.
Yeah. I like that a lot because then, like you said, you can try this, 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 and you're like, I actually don't really like working with this group. This group is something that I really want to work with
Yep.
versus like starting your website and brand and socials and being like, I help just naming something random. I help restaurant owners increase
Yep.
their profit margin. And then you're like, man, I don't like working with restaurant owners. And I'm 6 months in and I got this website and social media. I love that approach a lot, which I think is a bit unorthodox because you hear that the quote that's like, find your niche, get rich. But like, back up a little bit. It's like, well, you find your niche by trying out a bunch of different groups first and then going hard in that.
And something else I'll say to even go off that further, don't be scared to pivot. Don't be
Mm,
so married to your ideas that you ignore what the market's telling you, right? So let's say real estate investors works for a couple years. Well, plastic surgeons might have a huge opportunity for us there. And if I'm like, nope, that's not our niche, I might miss the biggest opportunity in my life. So you've got to be willing to pivot when the market demands it.
yep. How you said we a couple times. So how big is your team right now?
Yeah, so right now there's 8 of us. It's all contractors, but the client-facing team is U.S. based, stay-at-home
Okay.
moms. More than half of them are military wives. And we've got a Philippines-based team as well. So
Nice.
I'm the only guy. Apparently, I hate working with other guys. So I've done it before, but it just doesn't work out, man. Dudes are lazy or entitled or whatever. But you get the right type of lady in there, and it's a great environment. So
Well, I was gonna say you told me earlier you don't like being told what to do, and
yeah,
I mean, guys can be, try to take charge when they don't want to, and they
yep,
shouldn't, and all that stuff. So that's funny.
yep.
Obviously you said they're all contractors, but like, what was it like first bringing them on, and what are some advice that you have for maybe other entrepreneurs who are going from solopreneur to maybe their first hire, first couple contractors?
Yeah, so I've got a few, and both are a bit unorthodox. You're seeing a trend here, aren't you?
I love it.
Yeah, solopreneur. I didn't do that real long. I hired help pretty quickly, and I was able to afford somebody 2 hours a week, right? That's all I could do. And you might think, well, what's the point? Well, the point is they could work on social media so we had consistent content, and I could focus on trying to find new business, and it matters, right? One of the biggest mistakes I see. So we've had this virtual company almost 9 years. Obviously, started part time. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people think that nobody can do it like me, so they don't relinquish control and they can't grow.
Yeah.
You're going to have to really relinquish control. I don't even manage my team. Like we've never had a team meeting. I'm not a manager. I say that we both work towards a common goal. I just happen to own the company. So hey, it takes the right personality to be able to thrive in that environment. They can work whenever they want to. They don't need my permission to take time off. Everybody's paid hourly. So if you don't work, you just don't get paid. And it gives them complete freedom over their life. My number two, who's been with me the longest, just mentioned she was going to the panhandle of Florida, the Gulf, on vacation tomorrow. I was like, oh, I didn't even know. Have fun. She's like, I told you. I was like, I don't think you did, but that's cool. So it works out really well. The other thing is people feel like if they make a hire, it's got to be a full timer. It's like, why would you hire a full timer? 3 to 5 hours a week of help can change your business, right? So don't be scared to hire overseas. I really like the Philippines. The Philippines has a whole culture kind of designed to support the US. I use Upwork a lot. You can filter by top rated. There's a top rated plus status, and you can see people with a lot of experience, that type of thing. And you're going to have people you have to let go, but you can do a pretty good job of finding people. So don't be scared to go part time. Don't be scared to start with just a couple hours a week. So yeah, I had to help right away, and sometimes I had to pay them on a credit card, which is seems crazy. But once we started to get traction and grow, I was really glad I had help and I was able to increase their hours and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it probably helped you kind of expand the business too by spending a little money on it. So how long were you doing this solo, just running, all of the marketing by yourself and then having somebody help you?
Probably a couple months.
Okay,
Not
cool.
yeah, not. And now the nice thing is I can plug into what I like to do and kind of create little mini projects to the team and kick it out so they can get hours and task variety and all that. So like right now, I'll always be involved in some way because I'll just get too bored if I'm not.
Yeah.
People are like, yeah, wouldn't you like to exit your business and sit on the beach the rest of your life? No, sounds like hell to me. I'd lose my mind. So I like the sales aspect. I definitely like the marketing, the content creation. I just uploaded a new YouTube video right as we got on here, and I'm reviewing a
Nice.
cigar. So that'll be cool to see how that performs. I
What
like
cigar?
the Monte Cristo White Series.
Okay.
So
I don't know if I've tried the white series, but I love cigars, man. They're great.
yeah, for a $10 cigar, man, I don't know if you can beat it. It's mild, it's consistent, it's premium in every way. So yep, I like cigars, I like bourbon, I like guns, I like all the American freedom
I
stuff.
love it.
So if other people aren't into it, so be it. I used to get fired up, but it's like, I don't care what you're into. I can still be cordial and stuff with you, even if you believe everything opposite of me. I just don't care.
Yeah.
So, um, where was I going with all that? I don't remember.
I got you sidetracked by talking about the cigars. Yeah, man, I
Yeah.
like that. I mean, there's a shop near me, and they know the guy from Padron, so like you can buy a Padron 1964 for like $11 there, but
Yeah.
like anywhere else, they're like 17, $18. So I'm gonna
I
try
think
you.
I have those right over here.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I think I might see the box there. So you said it was, what was the one that you were reviewing called? Because I want to write
The
that down.
Monte Cristo White Series.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing crazy price, but I always tell people if you smoke this cigar and you hate it, cigars are not for you. It is very It's easy on the palate. It's medium to mild in strength. It's not a whole lot to dislike, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you don't like that one, then go smoke a black and mild or something because you don't like real cigars. Oh, that's awesome. All right. So let's jump back in here. I want to know what it was like when you like first broke out of corporate and then like you actually started making some money because there's a lot of people that are listening that like want to do the same thing, but was that just an awesome feeling, kind of like slowly starting to replace your income there?
Yeah, so it took a while before I made any consistent money that mattered. So I was, like I said, I quit corporate once. 2 months, I ran out of money. I had to reach out to one of my mom's sisters, my aunt, and I said, "Here's the predicament I've got us into. My daughter's really small at this point. Can you help us buy groceries for a little bit? We're in serious trouble." So she helped me buy groceries for 6 months, and we still were late on almost all the bills. And then I had to go back. So I went back to CarMax, which I liked CarMax, but it was about an hour away. So I lost a lot on drive time. There was one particular month, it was a January, and I had made $300 for the month. You can't pay much at $300.
Yeah.
And it's coming home into a bit of a snowstorm. This is back in Indianapolis. And I'll never forget, I was sitting on 465, which is a loop around Indianapolis, pretty much stopped. And I got a message from somebody in Upwork that's like, "Hey, I'm selling a bunch of funnels. I need help actually building them because I don't have that skill. I see that you do. Can you help me?" And I was like, "What do you have in mind?" And this girl was like, "I'll pay you $1,500 if you can get this one done by Monday." And it was like a Friday, and I looked at the requirements and I was like, "Okay." And she literally extended the contract to me, and I signed it in the car just through my phone. And I was like, "Holy crap!" Like I just 5 extra monthly income sitting in a snowstorm. I was like, I was like, do you have more work? Like, I wonder, is there enough here to build a full-time business? Like, I wasn't even sure there was enough work or what to do, but we needed money so badly at that point. I was like, this is an amazing feeling, right? This is an amazing feeling. And I can negotiate it and do all this stuff. So that was like the first time I thought, you know what, there might be something bigger here. So that was pretty cool. The first time I ever made like real good money for myself is a pretty amazing feeling, right? The bad thing about money is it doesn't matter what you make. You always have a feeling of what a certain level feels like, but you get there and you're like, it feels exactly the same. Like
Mm.
maybe you can do more or pay stuff off or whatever, but it doesn't feel any different. So,
Yeah, that's super interesting, man. Like this year, I mean, knock on wood, is like tracking to be the best year I've had from a sales income perspective. And like I've been having some great months, glory to God. But it's like I don't really feel much different. And last year and the year before, I was like, if I could just get to that level. And now I'm like slowly starting to get to that level. And I'm like, where's like the fireworks and the hype that I thought around this?
yep.
So, because I feel like you're just always gonna want more.
Yep.
So what's kind of like your balance with that? Like what's like really driving you right now and your why behind, the business and all that? Because it doesn't like money's good, right? It pays for stuff. You got the pool, probably got a nice truck, right? And I have things that I like to buy as well. But I feel like if you really want to be great, like you got to have a deeper why than just some of the finances behind it.
Yeah, because money, here's the thing about money, money still doesn't buy back the time that's behind you. Like no
Sure.
matter how much money I make, I can't get yesterday back. And last year was our best year ever. This year won't be as good. The math, I won't catch up to it, but that's fine because I didn't need that much money last year. I had ridiculous amounts of money to do stuff with, and we used it wisely, and I had some fun and stuff. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make you feel any better. What makes me feel good now is, if my daughter's got a volleyball game, I can go do whatever I want. Right. I could have bumped this podcast and rescheduled if I had something else that I needed or wanted to do. So having that control over your time, having that ability to spend time with friends and family here and now, that's where the real value's at. Why am I doing it? I truly love what I do. I love, giving my team new opportunities, increasing their pay every year, giving them bonuses, giving them task variety that they can do from anywhere, impacting as many clients as I can and inspiring and as many people as I can. And that'll never stop. There's no mark where I hit this, then it's good enough, right? I'll stop when I die.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. And I mean, you used your company's name in the description of the why. So I mean,
Yep.
it's
Yeah, it's
everything's
come
kind of
full
logical.
circle. Like I've got to do the motivational speaking. You can probably see it and feel it coming out of me now. It's all
Yeah,
authentic. It's all real.
for
It's
sure.
just it didn't present itself initially like it does now, and that's just part of the journey, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. So what advice do you have for those out there that may be like, okay, like I want to start a business. I just can't really find that vehicle, but like I'm entrepreneurial. I want the time freedom. I want to get out of corporate.
Yep.
What's kind of your advice there? Is it maybe going back to the whole niche thing of like just try a bunch of stuff or like what are your thoughts on all that?
That's a great question. So one mistake I made for a long time is I kept trying to invent something no one's ever seen. It's not
Mm.
necessary. If you want to think of a category where there's a lot of opportunity, offer services to businesses. There's a lot that can mean anything from accounting to marketing to design to payroll. Like there's a million things you can do. There's existing needs there, and you can already see that people are having success with it. Just do it at a better level. And it doesn't mean you have to have prettier websites, but if you say you're going to do something, do it. If a client's got a problem, help them take care of it. The simple stuff goes a long way because most people aren't going to do that well. And if you do it long enough, a lot of people will disappear as far as competition. The other piece of advice is start something on the side. Do not do what I did when I quit corporate. I had no plan, I had no income, and it didn't work. Right. I lost a bunch of time and money doing it that way. It's when you get off work, take a quick break or whatever and spend as much time as you have each day to work on something else. The timeline's unknown, and maybe it'll take you 6 months to build a business that's worth quitting for. It might take you 16 years. I have no idea, neither do you. So there's some good things to think about, but you don't have to invent something brand new that no one's ever heard of. It's not necessary.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. And going back to that approach of, what services can you offer a business? How can you do it better? And then starting something on the side. I mean, corporate obviously you don't have near as much time freedom, but I mean, if you can get in a right company, like you were saying, you liked CarMax. I like the company that I'm at. Like I can figure out what systems, processes that they have in place take mental notes of things that I'm learning and then extract that to my own business one day.
Yep.
So that's the beauty, I think, if you're at a good company that does that. So
Yeah.
man, this was an awesome conversation. I obviously we could probably keep talking for a long time, but I like to keep the episodes clear, concise. Really, the only other thing I wanted to ask you, and kind of talked about this at the beginning, you know, faith, family, fitness, finances, American freedoms, all very important things to me, important things to the listeners out there. What does being well rounded in those areas mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to spend some time making deposits in each of those every day, right? I find the most rewarding things in life and where you get the furthest, it requires consistency. Doesn't matter if it's working out, doesn't matter if it's finances, doesn't matter if it's prayer, right? If you're not consistent with stuff, you're never going to be happy with what you see as the growth or lack of growth, right? It might be regression. So, consistent action in those areas each day is going to yield you your best results and give you the best experience out of each.
Nice. And with that said, like very curious, I'm always talking about habits, behaviors, routines. What are your habits that have helped you get to where you are today and obviously will continue to get you to where you want to go?
Yeah, it's gonna be very different than a lot of people. I don't meditate. I don't do yoga. I don't have a strict running schedule. I wake up usually between 9 and 10 in the morning. I stay up really late.
Okay.
I always start my day with a cup of black coffee and sit in the sunshine for 10 or 15 minutes. Right. I couldn't do that in the Midwest. I love starting my day that way here. Starting my day that way here. Yeah. I try to swim, get in the hot tub of the pool every day. My wife, we retired her from the business, so she takes care of all the kid stuff and all that. And we eat a lot of meals together. We're together a lot. So that stuff gives you clarity. Some days in business are good, some days are bad, but those are kind of the fundamentals I do. And the other thing is I try to do something I personally enjoy every single day,
Hmm.
whether it's I was at the gun range for like 5 hours yesterday. I was like, holy crap, how'd that happen? I had some things to work out and I got it worked out. That was a blast. I had a great time with it. So whether it's smoking a cigar, going to the range, jumping on YouTube and going down a rabbit hole that's enjoyable or entertaining for me, it's just little simple things you do for yourself every day. It goes a long way.
Yeah, I love that. Man, 5 hours. How many rounds did you go through out there? That's
A lot.
awesome.
As the range officer said, man, you're really pissing away the money today, are you? I was like, it's a necessary thing for what I'm trying to accomplish. So
Yep, yep. I also love that you mentioned the family meals. I read some stat the other day in a book I'm reading. I don't remember the exact number, but it was kind of a scary statistic of the amount of families that don't eat dinner together at
yeah.
the dinner table anymore compared to from like 1970 to like I think it was 2010 is when that data was compiled. I was like, man, like that is sad. And it's probably gotten even worse and worse over the last like 4, 5, 6 years. So
I grew up in a house where we ate at the table Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's it. When I got
yeah.
married, my wife and I, so I'll be 43 on the 16th. My
Mm.
wife and I have been together 22 years. When we got together, she's like, we are eating all of our meals at home at the table. No one's eating in the room, no one's eating on couches, and that's what we've done, and it's been awesome. Right? There's a lot of conversation that happens around the table that doesn't happen anywhere else. So that's good stuff. Yeah, I had another thought about that. Oh, something else I didn't tell you. Once upon a time, around the time my daughter was born, I actually traveled for work. I was a traveling HR manager for FedEx Freight, and I was a traveling safety manager for Dayton Freight. So we've gone from one extreme of never seeing my family and always being in hotels to the other. So can't get that time back, but I can change it going forward.
Yeah. Man, I love this. This is an awesome conversation. To use your company name, I think a lot of people are going to walk away inspired. Really, just from your story of how you built your life to where it is today. Obviously, going to continue to build it. But I think you really painted a nice picture to go back to some themes that you mentioned earlier of like you have to earn it. And obviously, you've proved in your life that if you have that mentality and put in the work, like you can go earn it. So, I'm excited to see, if we catch up in, a few years from now, kind of what you've been able to do from then. But obviously, thank you for being on the show, man. And obviously thanks for adapting, doing this at 5:30 outside of the full-time job is when I usually record. So appreciate you being flexible there and obviously providing a lot of value to the listeners.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show, man. It's been fun.
Absolutely.